how did it feel to have Keanu Reeves going onto the stage at the Microsoft press conference? And
oh wow! I mean, so with Keanu, the whole situation started like a long time ago, and we had it fairly pre-planned. Like we knew what's gonna happen in what order, and you know, like in the team when we've been sitting there in the set, I was like, okay, when the what was before us, the Blair Witch Project, like Blair Witch Project was just before us, and then I saw the CD Projekt, and I just instantly had thrills because I was like, okay, yeah, I know the trailer is like 3 minutes 22 seconds, and then you know they will see what we've been cooking for like a year or something. Yeah. And then you know, and I was thinking, you know, okay, yeah, I'll be probably like one of the first people that get up when Keanu walks out. Like probably I won't be able to hold myself, you know, because I'm always the excited one. So.
Are you the guy shouting "you're breathtaking"?
Oh no! And of course, the breathtaking guy was actually a guy from the YouTuber being on the Microsoft part. Okay. CD Projekt Red was on the left side, like up there. But I was there, you know, sitting and with my team. And thing is that I was sure, yeah, we will get up definitely when he walks off. Yeah. Dude, we were the last one that got up. Like the whole stadium was already standing when we just even consider doing this. Like, and I think he's like the only human being probably on Earth who can just walk on the stage and look at the people, and they just go crazy. They just go mental, you know. and that was awesome. And the breathtaking guy was also amazing. I mean, we can talk about it as well a bit more if you want to, but yeah.
Was it a no-brainer to put celebrities in the game, or were you afraid of that could break the like illusion of a game, having a similar familiar face?
It's a good question, actually. I mean, we've been thinking quite a lot about it. Thing is that since long time we already had a story ready for the game, right? Yeah. And we knew that we are having Johnny Silverhand, this iconic character, you know, from 2020, the frontman of Samurai Band, and we knew that we want to have an actor that would be like a bit more like high-key actor that could like carry this role, because Johnny Silverhand is in the game from almost very beginning till the very end, you know, and he's with you all the time, and throughout your choices, you can craft a relationship with him. And thing is that Keanu Reeves is the actor who has a history of movies that he played on where he has playing the strong characters, always fighting for something. You know, they were always like, you look at Neo, you look at Johnny Mnemonic, you look at John Wick. Yeah, they're all Johnnies by some reason, but Johnny Silverhand, right? But and he was always a strong character fighting for something, and we were like, okay, yeah, maybe Keanu just fits, but you know, we didn't really believe that we can make it work out. But thing is, like our business like branch of CD Projekt, they're like miracle mongers. Those guys can figure out so many different things, and they really like reached out to his agents, and they managed to work it out. And it was like, and then we did like first tests, you know, we like scanned him, he approved his body that he has in the game. We like tried out the first lines, you know, he suggested some changes to voiceover, you know, what else he could say or like how he could say it, you know, to just make it feel better. And we're like, that actually works, you know, he's actually, you know, showing us his version of Johnny Silverhand. That is really looking good. And we're like, okay, just, you know, let's go for it. I mean, you know, like we have him on board, he likes it. And and then this is when the plan like sort of spawned in, okay, let's just get him on the stage, and Xbox just show him he's the really important character, like a key element in the story, and this is a storytelling game, so I mean, what else we can do better? So we tried it, and we're so glad for this reaction. You can't imagine.
Yeah. Is he one of 3 like childhood heroes you can choose from, or?
Oh, okay. So you're referring to the character creation panel from previous demo. The character creation has changed quite a lot from that time. We've been iterating a lot on it, and right now the Johnny Silverhand plays like an iconic role. He's like the key part of the game. So when you're creating your character, you can right now pick the life paths. You know, so from where you come from. If you are a nomad, street kid, or a corpo, but the choice regarding the hero is not there anymore. Okay. So basically, the Johnny Silverhand joins you in the story at some point, and you can actually, the CGI trailer that we have shown, you know, the moment when V comes back with a chip and so on, talks to Dex, that is actually one of the quests that you're playing in the game. That CGI trailer. So that thing is actually in the game. It's not just a promotion material. And as you see, like Johnny Silverhand is like a a key element of that, you know, in his relationship to V, and V as a character, you know, what you as a player, what you are doing, you know, with this relationship with Johnny.
Yeah. You talked about before that Cyberpunk isn't a game about saving the world, but more about saving yourself. How do you avoid that kind of chosen one trope?
I mean, the trope to that you're about to saving roles yourself is a really interesting one, because it's the one that and it's hard for me to talk about it without spoiling you the main story, because this is one of the key elements in our main story, and I really don't want to spoil it or like suggest some things that will like make the people you know, like guess what's gonna happen. But it's like the way how you save yourself, you have to define on your own, and it's this part that I think is contained in the punk of Cyberpunk, you know, and it's this fight against, you know, a greater powers, you know, that you really don't have a control with, and you have to deal with it in some way, right? And saving yourself, it's exactly this. It's like how I'm getting my own freedom, you know. And I can't really tell you more about it because I would have to spoil the main story. So we don't really want it.
Speaking about the world, yeah, of course you have a lot of characters and NPCs and stuff like that. How are you able to interact with people outside, like side quests and stuff like that? Are there just dummies walking around, or are you actually able to interact with them?
So you can think about it in a similar way how we did it in Witcher 3. So in The Witcher 3 you could approach any NPC, you could talk to them. Some of them had not much to say, but there were some that had like plenty to say. You had like whole quest lines with them and so on. So when we think about Cyberpunk, it is similar in that regard. And you have seen that in the demo already, that there are characters that are iconic, you know, there are main characters, secondary characters, tertiary characters that are like important. You have the whole plot lines with them, they are your companions sometimes. And all the crowd, you know, and all the background, you can always approach any of the NPCs, just look the way how they are. They have all full day night cycles, you know, they're performing actually their own like cycles, you know, depending of what, like, let's say social class or the social part they are, what archetype they have. And we have shown in the demo that you have, like, let's say dirt girl and dirt boy, you know, and king of the stoop and queen of the stoop, you know, like that kind of weird archetypes, but they make complete sense in the Cyberpunk universe. And those characters you can approach, you can always talk to them, poke them, you know, like they sometimes will say something about you. Sometimes you will find them, you know, chatting with other characters, you know, having something to share about their lives. And it all depends on the archetype that they're having, you know, at that given time. And that helps us to create this living world, you know, this feeling of like world that is filled up with interesting things, of like NPCs that have their own lives.
Yeah.
So I think that's the closest answer I can give you.
Yeah. Looking back at Witcher 3, are there any like really hard lessons you learned from creating that game that you have incorporated in Cyberpunk?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like Witcher 3 was a great learning experience for us. Like majority of the team in CD Projekt, it's like the veterans from Witcher 2, and lots of like most of the veterans from Witcher 3. And to that we have added like bunch of new people who have experience, like let's say with shooter games, you know, or with action games, so that we can actually incorporate them more and make sure that our gameplay also feels great. And right now we're like 400 plus team, which is pretty big, and we're working like full out, like everybody's like, you know, full hands on deck, like everybody's working on that, and we are actively using all the experiences that we have gathered, you know, throughout the whole Witcher 2, Witcher 3, both expansions, you know. And when you're thinking about Cyberpunk and its structure, I think as a player, if you like put some hours into Witcher 3, you'll feel similarities. Of course, you know, it's greatly updated, like, because we have learned some things for the 4 years.
Do you have any examples?
I mean, you can see it definitely in the demo that we have shown, but for instance, the first thing is our scene system, interactive scene system. So we had a scene system in The Witcher 3 that has been called one of the most advanced scene systems ever, and we have thrown it away completely.
Okay.
And we have taken everything that was great there, and we have rebuilt it from the ground up and added even more to it. So and I was one of the guys who was actually designing this system to just make sure that our quest system and C system are actually really powerful. And with our cinematic designers, we made sure that our scene system is so powerful that allows you to implement absolutely everything. Like my objective when I was designing it with cinematic team was make sure that whatever you can actually come up with, whatever idea you have, you can implement it. That there's no boundaries in terms of technology. And thing is that I think we're very, very close to having that, because when you're walking in the streets of Night City, you can see how fluent that is. Like you're like popping up from one conversation to another, you can answer, and other people, you know, somebody can join in, can leave. You can have like really tense conversations, like with Royce, let's say, in previous demo. You can have this awesome scenes, you know, like let's say first entering cyberspace, right, at the end of the demo that we have just shown. So this is one of the examples. We have learned, you know, a lot, you know, how to make the scenes well in Witcher 3, and I think that we're making them way better right now, actually. So this is one of the examples, I think, and it's really big. And I think the second thing is the emphasis that we're putting right now on gameplay, because in Witcher 3 the gameplay was important for us, but it was not that deep, you know. You could build Geralt in a few different ways and so on. We put as much as we could, as much as we are able to, you know, get out of the lore for Geralt. But still, it was fairly simple, and in comparison to Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk is actually really deep, because you have the fluid class system, right? You can pick the skills any way you want. You can customize your characters, picking those skills, build whatever you want. If you want to have like a strong netrunner, you can do it, right? If you want to have like a techie who's controlling, you know, Flathead, this robot that you just bought, you know, from a Maelstrom in the previous demo that we have shown. If you want to have that, and on top of that have like let's say a hover jump and double jump because of your cyber legs, you can do that, right? So you can combine all those things, and this is one of the lessons, right? We're trying to improve on the fields that we fought from The Witcher 3. We're not that strong. We're not really our like strongest parts, and there's way more actually.
Yeah. You design missions. Witcher 3 had really good side missions. How do you go about designing a good side mission? Because I had a question from the forums about the trauma team, for example. Would it be possible to do something like that?
Like one of the things that me and my team is doing, we are designing, writing the scenarios of the quest first, and when we have the scenario, we of course always cooperate with our story team, with our cinematic team. When we have a scenario ready, then we're starting implementing. So like design of the main story, side quests, minor quests, is on our side, and then the street stories, which is like also quests in the game, is designed by open world team, which are doing pretty much the same. They're also writing the scenarios and implementing it. And for us, it's extremely important to like capture the fun part of the quests, and so we are always starting with like a small pitch, I would say, and we're writing a ton of the pitches. You have no idea how much we throw away. Like, dude, we throw away most of the designs that we prepare, because thing is like, you cannot just sit down and like design like 40 excellent quests like going like this. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. You make mistakes. Nobody is that brilliant, you know, to get it like this. But like really good designers have good ideas once for a time, like really good designers. And this is what we're fishing for. We are like writing a lot of small pitches, you know, going through those pitches, discussing them, looking, okay, yeah, there's the potential here, there's the potential here. Although those ideas, they're crap. Okay, we throw them away, okay? And we just add up until we have like the game fully stacked with ideas that we think are good, you know, that we're like, okay, this is the base we can work on. And then, you know, around that unique idea that you have, we're like we are working around. So when you're looking at the demo that we have just shown, you know, the quest that you're doing for Placide, you know, to enter the cyberspace and so on, that was one of the first ideas that we had, you know, to let Voodoo Boys, you know, kind of connect you to Razo Agwe web, you know, their network, and be able to, like, you are becoming like a living proxy for them, and you're entering this hostile environment and moving through it, you're this proxy, you know. And we had this idea, okay, let's do this. These awesome netrunners, you know, Voodoo Boys, are using you as a living proxy that is moving, and you have to get to dangerous places. And that was the idea that we started from. Then the netwatch appeared as a natural element because it's all about network. So this is how we always do it. And then throughout iterations, with our story team, that is amazing team of writers, and with our cinematic team, and those guys have like really like a lot of movie experience. Most of them come from The Witcher, so they know basically their craft. So we always like cooperate together, just keep each other in check. Okay, is that really good enough? You know, our QA is helping great deal with that, and somehow throughout this like collaborative effort, we're able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the boss fight in the demo. Another problem with boss fights that they often tend to be you can only fix them with violence. You need to like be hands-on. If you were like really focused on net running and hacking and stuff, how would you go about solving that problem then?
You mean that particular boss fight that we just saw, or in general?
In general, yeah.
So what we are doing in CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk is like we are allowing players to play in a completely non-violent way. And non-violent being like you're not killing. Sometimes you sadly have to harm people because they are like attacking you and you have to protect your own life, but you can play non-violently. And we're always trying to make sure that players who are not playing violently, they have enough story exposition that they can see, you know, depending of the skills they picked, what are other paths, you know, in the quest. And there is always a moment when quest telegraphs to you, hey, you know, if you would have this skill, there is a branch here that you could possibly use. You have probably seen that in the demo, that there were like grayed out lines, you know, like for different life paths or different builds, you know. If you would have those skills, you could pick that up, and that allows you to actually get like some legway, you know, some leverage in the discussion with given NPC, and that allows you to open like a different branch. And as with every quest in the game, you didn't really have to fight or kill Sasquatch, right? As we have shown in the quest that you just saw.
No. I mean, Cyberpunk is one of the most anticipated games ever. How do you live with that hype? Are you afraid that you're going to underperform? Because people's expectations are like through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel it. Feel it, and I know that the team feels it as well. And thing is that it's like we are very grateful for all the attention we are getting from gamers, from media, from journalists, from influencers. Like actually, we're really grateful because we've been working like tirelessly for it, and we really want to show it to the people. Like show them, okay, what we have prepared, you know, what we have, and be like honest about it. Like not bullshit anybody about it, but just be honest and just let journalists, influencers like report about it, what they like, what they didn't like. And thing is, we are aware of the hype, but thing is. When I'm talking to my team, we are like very aware that let's imagine the scenario when there is zero hype. To be honest, we would that would not change anything in our work, because we're right now working like to the fullest capacity. Like we're doing absolutely everything we can to just make this the best game we can make with the resources and time and knowledge and skills that we have. And it's like as much as the hype there is, like it doesn't really change that much, because the thing is like we are doing everything we can already, and and we cannot probably do more. It's like we are like going full on board with everything we can do to just have it for 16th of April 2020 for the release, have it as best as possible. And honestly, like watching the reactions of the media, reading about it, even when those are like comments that we need to fix something, those are really valuable information for us, right? So we really look for it, like look for all the information you guys can give us about the game, how to improve it and what to do better. Yeah.
I mean, how do you work with Mike Pondsmiths? Is he like a regular person in your office, or is he more like you send him an email, check stuff out, or is he like more hands-on on the development?
Mike is a great asset for our team, and we have a lot of different conversations with Mike. Very often when we have questions, we just email him, and he's really easy to reach and really easy to talk to. This guy is a living encyclopedia of Cyberpunk. Like literally you can ask him anything and he tells you that the given character has like, you know, how many children he had, or wives and so on. Like things that you would not even find in the books. And we're always like trying to, you know, and we're always like fishing for those information, you know, from Mike. Make sure to stay true to the material. Often, you know, Mike is actually visiting our studio, you know, so we can, you know, sit together and talk. He's also available in the emails when we're in LA, we can talk. Thing is that a great deal of things in Cyberpunk 2077 is designed, of course, by us, but we're, of course, trying to stay true to the material to just make sure that the vision that Mike had is really visible in the game. Of course, we have to greatly update it, you know, because 50 years passed, you know, the 2020, you know, that when we have the release is an actual title title of the book when he was designing it. It was 80s, right, when the books were released. So of course, lots of things is like completely out of date. So we like to consult with Mike on those things, just make sure that we have everything intact. But also, there's a great deal of work on our side just to make sure that all the world building, story building, everything is staying intact. So and Mike is really easy to approach. Like you can talk to him, and this guy has this amazing voice. You just talk to him, and he's like, yeah, I can tell you about pretty much anything, and it's just a thrill and a joy to have him on board and just talk to him and be able to consult, when we need to.
Did you choose to have a setting in 77 to have some wiggle room from the original role-playing game, just to have more wiggle room for your own story?
I mean, of course, because one of the things that, as I mentioned just before, Cyberpunk 2020, it has been designed in the 80s, right? Yeah. Lots of things change, so many different technological inventions, and we have to look at the 80s. Kind of forgetting about how it is currently and extrapolate it to 77 and think, okay, what would be the natural progression from that times to just have it done as well as possible and best believable. And one of the examples is, for instance, the Quadra, the car that V is driving. I saw one of the amazing comments that just made me laugh, which was somebody wrote that Quadra looks like if Atari would be a car, and it's that's exactly the angle, right? This futuristic retro setting, to having it, and of course, the 50 years that passed, we have to fill it up, with the history and so on, and the materials actually that you have here, those are all the materials that are showing you, for instance, different art styles, different architecture, different fashion that has been developed in these 50 years, and we really put a great deal on it. When you've been in our Tottenham's bar, you can see that all the arts on the walls, they all have brands, and those are all our brands, all brands, and we created brands for everything, for food, for shoes, for clothes, for cars, for motorcycles, for bicycles, for weapons, and this is all deeply ingrained in 2020, but also in 2077. Just make sure that it's really cohesive, and players who know 2020 can actually find lots of things that they remember from the original pen and paper.